Hi everyone, it's Miss Lloyd again, here with geometric sequences. So I have another video on arithmetic. Today we're going to look a little bit deeper into geometric sequences. So for my students who are learning from home right now, it's chapter 11.3, geometric sequences. So geometric we talked about in the last video as it's multiplying in order to get from one term to the next, or dividing, multiplying by a fraction, kind of the same thing. And so we have a formula for this, just like we do for the arithmetic sequences. So this is t sub n is equal to t sub 1 times r to the power of n minus 1. And so again, t sub 1 is the same as before. It is our first term. And then r is our common ratio, so what we're multiplying by every single time to get from one number to the next. And just like before, n is going to be our term number, or term hashtag, depending on how you want to see it. But it's our term number, so what term we're talking about. So like third term, or fourth term, or seventh term, or 187th term. I guess I like the number 7. Probably because of that one episode of Friends. Let's be honest. All right, so geometric means we're talking about the numbers in between two terms of a geometric sequence. And there are formulas for this, but I, again, don't really like to use the formulas because I feel like this is more of a common sense thing than something that you would need the formula for. The formula takes a bit longer than just keeping in mind that we're looking at a geometric sequence, so everything multiplies. My goal for while I'm doing this is figuring out how to talk and write at the same time. So terms between two given terms, there we go, of a geometric sequence. So if we had something like 1, and then a space, and a space, and a space, and a 16, so keeping in mind it's geometric, so that means that we're multiplying. Oops, R was orange before. I'm going to keep everything color coordinated. Times R, times R, times R. So these means, in order to figure them out, I know I had 1, and I multiplied by r 4 times. So r times itself 4 times is r to the 4th power. And so in order to undo that 4th power, I would do a 4th root. The 4th root of 16 is 2. So 1 times 2 would give me 2. 2 times 2 would give me 4. 4 times 2 would give me 8, and 8 times 2 would give me 16. So I don't really need a formula for that. It's just kind of like remembering what geometric means and what it is I'm doing to get from one term to the next. So this next part, we're going to find a formula for the nth term of the following geometric sequence. So nth term, again, they just want the t sub n formula, so we're leaving the n where it is. In order to do this, I need my first term, so my t sub 1, and that is 81, so whatever showed up first. I'm also going to need my common ratio, the r. So in order to get, I'm going to move this over for a second. In order to get from 81 to 54, sometimes it may not be entirely obvious. So if you don't know right away just by looking at the numbers what was multiplied, we can do a ratio, which is why they call it the common ratio, of the second number from the first, and then the third over the second. And these should end up simplifying to the same thing. Sorry, that kind of looks like a 6. Nope, still looks like a 6. Should be a, I don't know, reaction video on how many times does it take Miss Lloyd to freaking write a 5. All right, so when we reduce 54 over 81, we end up with 2/3. And conveniently enough, same thing happens whenever we reduce 36 and 54. So we got 2/3 as well. So then our r is going to be 2/3. We're multiplying that every time to get from one to the next. So now I can plug this into my t sub n formula. So I've got 81. And then multiplied with my common ratio of 2 over 3, and having that to the power of n minus 1. And so from here, I can't actually reduce. So order of operations says that I have to do my exponents before I can do my multiplication. Because I don't have an actual exponent, I can't do the multiplying. So this is as far as I can go. And we're done. Today's note should be relatively short. All right, next one, we are trying to figure out the sixth term. So t sub 6 for that sequence that we just did. So here, whenever they tell us t sub 6, they're saying, hey, you're plugging in 6 for n. So t sub 6 is going to be equal to, we have 81, 2/3, and then 6 minus 1 is my exponent. So 6 minus 1 gives me 2/3 to the 5th power. So I have 81 times, 32 is 2 to the 5th power, and then 243 is 3 to the 5th power. Multiplying that with 81, so it's like 81 over 1. We end up reducing down to just 32 over 3. And then that's it, we're done. We found our sixth term. Next, this is very similar to an example that we had with the arithmetic, and I'm going to approach it the same way. So using what I consider more of a common sense than a formula method. And so they've given me my second term, which is 6, and they've given me my fifth term, which is 750. And actually, they've given me my fifth term, and so once I get my ratio, it might be easier just to multiply that to my fifth term twice, and then I don't have to worry about anything else. So I'm going to draw this out. I'm a visual person, so I like to have that drawing. So I've got 6 is my second term, don't know the first term, don't know the third, don't know the fourth, but I know my fifth is 750. And they said it was geometric, so I know I'm going times r times r times r 3 times, so r cubed, in order to get from 6 to 750. So then when I do this division, so r cubed, 750 divided by 6 ends up giving me 125. And then nicely enough, whenever I take the the cubed root of 125, my ratio is 5. So what we could do here is just multiply. I know in order to get because it's such a low number, so 5, 6, 7, I know I just multiply by my r 2 more times. So in this case, 5 times 5 to get that term number 7. So I'm basically just multiplying 750 by 25. So 750 times my 5 squared, or the 25, ends up giving me 18,750. So this is our t sub 7. And so you could use the formulas, but it's common sense in my opinion, just to keep going. It's a little bit easier to multiply it out 2 times than to go through. I try to teach my students that math is a way to help you think and not just a torture method, even though I tell people the only reason I teach math is because I enjoy torture of others, and this is the only legal form of it. But anyway, moving to the next one, I do enjoy teaching my students how to think and not just follow formulas and follow steps, but trying to figure out why are we doing this? Why does this work? What's an easier way to do it? Work smarter instead of harder, guys. All right, so here they want us to find the geometric mean in between -2 and 18, so I've got my one little space there. So we can think of it, again, it's geometric, so times r in order to get from -2 to 18, -18. So that means I had r squared to give me -18. When I divide my -2 over, I end up with r squared being equal to +9. And when we take the square root, r ends up being 3, but not just 3. Anytime we take a square root, we're undoing a square, trying to get rid of a square. We always have a plus minus. We have 2 technical solutions because +3 squared gives us +9, and -3 squared gives us +9. So that means I'm actually going to have 2 answers here for my mean, because I could do -2 times +3 and get a -6. and then negative 6 times positive 3 would give us negative 18. Or if I use negative 3, negative 2 times negative 3 would give us positive 6, and positive 6 times negative 3 would give us negative 18. So both of these work. So we have negative 6 or positive 6. Both solutions work out for us. So because we don't have more information, we just have those two numbers, we have two solutions. And then our very last, so we're inserting two geometric means between a half, 1, 2, and 1/54th. So then again, doing the same exact thing. You can pause the video if you want and try it out yourself. I know it has fractions, so I know my kids would be a little bit afraid of it. They're not the biggest fan of fractions. In fact, in my classroom, fraction is the F word. Also, when I'm around my grandma, fraction is the F word, because if I were to say the F word, she would smack me in the back of the head, rightly so. But if I say fraction, it shocks her and she doesn't know what to do, so I don't actually get hit. So here we would have had to multiply by r 3 times, so r cubed, in order to get the 1/54th. So in order to kill my fraction, is how I like to say it with my students, I'm going to multiply by a 2 to get rid of that 1/2. So then I end up with r cubed is equal to 1/27, which is really nice because I know I'm going to have to take a cubed root. And the cubed root of 1/27 is going to be 1/3. So then now I'm just multiplying everything by 1/3 to get from one to the next. So I'll end up with 1/6, 1/18, and I multiply 1/18 by 1/3, and I end up with 1/54. Excuse me, I have allergies. And so that is our lesson for the day. My students can find their homework on LMS. James, stop. My students can find their homework on LMS. Sorry, James. And if you have any questions, like, subscribe, send me a comment, or if you're one of my students, you can send me an email and I'll get back to you when I can.